Hello and welcome back to a new video. My name is Lucy Powrie, also known as Lucy the Reader, and today I'm going to be talking about university. I decided when the rest of my peers were going off to university at the age of 18 that that was not what I wanted to do. I didn't think I was ready to go to university, I didn't know what I wanted to study, I did not think that the university experience would be right for me. But I always harboured this dream of doing a degree, of one day maybe doing an MA or even a PhD. I really love studying, I enjoy the process of studying. But when it came to applying to university, I did my personal statement, I created a profile on the UCAS website, which is what you use in the UK to apply to university, but I couldn't do it. I knew that it wouldn't be right. I knew that I wouldn't like the university life. For example, I don't drink. I would be a part of a temperate society in the Victorian times. I am just not interested in partying or even socialising. I have my friends and I just don't really like to go outside of my bubble. I knew that I didn't want to leave home, and the thought of leaving home made me really upset. I knew that if I left home I would want to be somewhere where I knew I would be happy and was kind of independent rather than being part of university in halls or whatever. And even the local universities, I just didn't think that that would be right. But I wanted to do a degree, and so at the end of last year I finally felt ready to go, you know what? This is what I want to do. I want to start studying at degree level, and that's what I'm going to be talking to you about today. So from the middle of September, although officially the course starts at the beginning of October, I am going to be a history student with the Open University. Now, the Open University, for those of you who don't know, is an online university. They have a physical campus in Milton Keynes in the UK, but most people do their degree online, digitally. It's distance learning. It is the same as a university degree. It's run slightly differently, so you have fewer modules, and it's designed for people to learn whilst they are doing other jobs. So they recommend doing the degree part-time over 6 years instead of 3, but personally I'm going to be studying full-time because I know that at this point in my life that's something that I am able to do. I have the time to do that, so I'm hoping to do my degree over 4 years instead of 6, but I'll come on to that later. Even though you aren't attending a physical or brick university, the degree is still worth the same as a degree from any other university. It is accredited, it is still a degree, and I decided to do this because I didn't want to leave home, because I am good at independent learning. I've been self-employed for 2 years. I know that I can work independently and I much prefer to do it that way. I also think that this is definitely the right time to do an online degree. A lot of degrees will be mostly online anyway, no matter what university you go to, so I have no qualms with doing it online. It's exactly what I wanted out of a course. You may not get the same face-to-face interaction, for example, there aren't seminars, but you still get lectures which are part of the module, except you don't get them a lot. You tend to get them at the end of kind of every 8 weeks or so from what I know already, and you may not get interaction with other students, but there are still other ways of meeting your fellow Open University students. For example, I'm part of Facebook groups, there are WhatsApp groups set up, there are lots of ways if you want to, such as forums for your tutorial group, so there are still ways of interacting even though you might not be physically with students all the time. For me, this style of doing a degree works really well because it means I can focus on doing my degree, but also I can keep writing alongside it, hopefully. Maybe my output with writing might not be as good because my degree will be my focus, but it means that I can do it kind of exactly how I want it without the distractions of getting stressed because I don't really want the typical university experience. So why did I decide to study history? Some of you were wondering why, because I talk about books on my channel, so English literature seems more likely. But I think the reason I chose history was because I enjoy books too much. So I didn't want to study a literature degree and then end up resenting the books I was reading, or for it to somehow turn my hobby of reading into something that just didn't feel enjoyable anymore. I have always loved history ever since I was a child, ever since I was about 6 years old and studied the Great Fire of London at school. And as I have done some work over the last few years, I was the Bronte Society's Young Ambassador, for example. I realised how much I love the history around the books that I read, and also how one day I would like to work within the museums and heritage sector. I think probably in collections, but I'm quite open at the moment to just seeing what I enjoy or where exactly I could work. And you tend to need a degree to work within museums and heritage and to kind of advance in any job within museums and heritage. Of course, there are ways of doing it without a degree, but seeing as though I wanted to do a degree eventually and I wanted to do that, it just kind of made sense to do it like that now while I have the time and I'm able to do that. I also have always harboured that ambition to do an MA and a PhD and kind of go down the more academic route as well. And honestly, I'd kind of resigned myself to the fact that I would never have that or wouldn't do it. And so I'm really happy now, at least, that those doors are still open to me, because I do enjoy learning, I enjoy studying, but while I was at school I had some really bad experiences, like I was bullied, just kind of the environment of school was not right for me. Even when I was a younger child, I just always hated being at school, even though I loved the learning and kind of the education part. I didn't love everything else about the school experience. And so I think the best thing that I did was take a break of 2 years to work, so I've been able to kind of earn money and save money to finance going to university, which makes it easier. I've done so many things that have added to my experience of life in that time, so I think it was worth waiting, and I'm just glad now that, you know, one day I might be a historian. That's kind of my ultimate ambition, to do probably public or social history and also work within museums and heritage, because it's something I'm really passionate about. So for me, history, it was just something I knew that I wanted to do, but I also had to spend that time making my mind up and kind of going, yes, this is really the thing that I want to spend my hard-earned money on. I want to do a history degree rather than an English literature degree. So I thought I would talk you through the 2 modules that I'm doing in first year and explain how the Open University degree works. So the Open University recommend doing your degree part-time over 6 years, because they kind of assume that students will be working alongside their degree, but that's not to say that students don't do it full-time, because they definitely do. I'm going to be one of those students, at least for the first 2 years. I hope I'll be doing my degree full-time, and then in my final year I'm hoping to split that into 2 years, so I will be doing my degree over 4 years instead of the usual 3, but the usual Open University 6. So instead of calling it year 1, year 2 and year 3, the Open University refer to each year as stages, and each stage is made up of 2 60-credit modules. So no matter what university degree you do, each year or each stage will be 120 credits, and that's no different with the Open University. So in stage 1, or for me for the first year, I am doing 2 60-credit modules. The first one is called Discovering the Arts and Humanities, and the first year, really you don't specialise in history, but you specialise in the arts and humanities, which means that if I did get to the end of the year and decided, actually I want to do English literature, or I want to do history and English literature, or I want to do philosophy or something, then I would have the option of doing that or doing a general arts and humanities degree, which is really good, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to stick to history. So there are 3 parts to the Discovering Arts and Humanities module. The first thing you look at is reputations. So why are some people forgotten and others remembered? So we look at Cleopatra, we look at Mary, Mother of Jesus, we look at Elizabeth I. We'll also in this part look at figures like Mary Wollstonecraft, and we study A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Then in the second part we look at traditions, so we look at sculptures from the ancient world, we look at the blues, we look at traditions in Irish history, and to reiterate, we are looking at a variety of topics in the arts and humanities. So you look at history, philosophy, music, you look at English literature, you look at classics, so it's really broad, which I really like. I really wanted to get that real basic understanding of everything and to really feel like I was immersing myself in the world rather than diving straight into it. That's what I really like about the Open University degree. Then in the final part of this module we look at crossing boundaries, so we study Antigone by Sophocles. I'm really looking forward to studying some ancient works of classics. We look at apartheid, and we also look at Western philosophy and Buddhist philosophy. If you study any arts and humanities degree with the Open University, you will study this module. It kind of grounds your knowledge in everything that you will be studying, and if you haven't studied for a while, then it's a good introduction to studying at degree level, and you build up and up as the course goes on. Then the second module I'm doing is a new module for this year called Revolutions, and we look at the Reformation and print revolution, we look at the French Revolution, we look at the 1960s and the Civil Rights movement, and we also look at revolutions during the First World War. This is probably the part of the course that I'm most excited about at the moment for the first year, because I have done some reading already on the French Revolution. I'm interested in the Reformation and print, and whilst I probably prefer pre-1900s history, I'm looking forward to extending up towards the 1960s as well and looking at the First World War and also civil rights and movements during the 1960s. So I think Revolutions is probably one I'm most excited about, and it's also the one I'm going to be doing my first essay on. So what you do with the Open University is that they're called TMAs rather than essays or assignments. These are tutor marked assignments, and I am going to have a lot on my plate because I'm doing 2 at once, so there will be some overlap I think with my deadlines for these, but I will talk more about TMAs and EMAs and how they work once I started the course, because at this stage I'm not as confident with explaining it to you, but it works kind of like an essay, and again it builds up over time. So at the start of the course you'll write fewer words and then you build it up as the time goes on. At the end of the Revolutions module you have an independent project where you go away and explore something in greater detail that you've done on the course, and with all of the TMAs and kind of assignments that you get given, you can choose to specialise in the area that you want to specialise in. So you don't have to do a music essay, for example. You can do, in my case, a history essay discussing one of the history subjects rather than anything else. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. I've never studied art or music before. I did philosophy and religion at GCSE level, and I actually didn't study history at GCSE or A level. I wanted to, but I didn't have great history lessons when it came to year 9 when we were choosing our subjects, so I just decided I enjoyed it too much to really go in depth with history and to study it, because I thought it would just be them making us remember facts rather than finding areas of interest that I've really loved, which has always been the thing that I've loved most about studying history. So I start in mid-September. I will be sent my books probably at the end of August or the beginning of September, and then the module websites open in the middle of September so I can get started. I'm hoping to be a few weeks ahead of myself because obviously you don't have weekly seminars or lectures, so they're relying on you to set your own own time and to work out what you're going to do and how you're going to pace yourself. So far my experiences with the Open University have been really great. I could not fault them with the way that they've been, particularly through the pandemic. I've seen that they have been really good at giving people extensions, on being really clear with the advice that they're giving, and on making quick decisions, which I think is what people need. I feel like I'm going to be in very safe hands because obviously we don't know what's going to happen over the next few months or the next year, but I'm really confident that I'm going to get so much out of doing this degree, and I really am so excited to begin. I'm really excited. I think you can probably tell it's all I think about because I'm just so excited. I've bought my stationery. I'm looking forward to getting going, counting down the days. I just cannot wait. I'm so glad that I made this decision, and I just do not regret it one bit. I think there are going to be points in the degree where it is tough and I think, why did I do this? But I think that comes with anything you do. I feel like some people might watch this and think, at the Open University it might not have as much prestige as other universities, but honestly it was the right decision for me, and you have to make that decision. It is cheaper, but it's still not cheap to do a degree, and because it's part-time study you don't get a maintenance loan in the UK, so it is a big commitment to spend that money and to go, you know what, this is kind of an investment in my future and it's what I want to do. But I do think it's the right decision, and I'm so glad that I've taken it. I'm hoping to do more videos as I progress with my degree. I might do some study vlogs. I will certainly talk more about my experiences with the Open University because I watched lots of videos when I was making up my mind as to whether I wanted to study or not from other people who have been or are Open University students. So they've been really helpful. I probably wouldn't have made that decision so quickly if it wasn't for those videos and kind of seeing how it worked. So I'd love to share that more. If there are any university videos or study videos that you would like to see, then please let me know. I'm hoping to film one about what I'm doing to prepare for university in the next few weeks, so I'll have some pre-university and videos during university too. I'm really excited. This is a new chapter for me, and I really hope that you'll be sharing this journey with me. I cannot wait. So thank you so much for watching this video, and here's to the university adventures. Happy reading!